All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get her going here. Start me off. Where to bid to go? Have it like $1,000. Open it up.
How hard is it to sell your own house? Welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas. I've been involved in tax defaulted properties for well over 30 years. And today we're going to talk about how hard is it to sell your own house? Well, we have to do it all the time, and I'll tell you why. Because most of the real estate people are a little shy about tax defaulted property. So I'll talk to you a little bit about that. So we're going to answer the question starting out this way. It's not difficult to sell your property if you understand and you have some experience and you've got a good location and good pricing. Now, boy, that made it sound simple, right? Well, experience, location, and pricing are a big deal. So thousands of property owners want to sell so they can save that real estate commission. So what do they call those people? They call them for sale by owners. So they have their own title, FSBOs, and it's happening all the time. Thousands of people try to sell their own house. Now, not that many of them are successful at doing so. So I'm Ted Thomas. I've been involved as an investor, a buyer, a seller for the past 30 years. Now, I work as a guide, a teacher, and an author, and I help thousands of people over the years to buy and sell properties. And how do we do that? Well, we make sure we use a lot of media, and we make sure that we sell the properties at absolute right prices. So I'll teach you how to do that because we do that with our clients all the time. So I'm involved in a subset of the real estate business, which is called tax defaulted property and tax lien certificates. Now, tax defaulted properties have been around for over 200 years. These are properties that the treasurer and the tax collector have confiscated. They've seized because the people didn't pay their taxes. When people don't pay their taxes, there's a consequence, and the government seizes the property and sells them at auction.
How about to go there? How about to go there? How about to go where? How about to go here? How about now? How about to go?
So many real estate people are a little on the nervous side when it comes to tax defaulted property. So we've had to teach our clients how to sell the properties because the real estate community doesn't say, no, we won't help you, but they're a little reluctant. So we still use the multiple listing system and whatever, and I still recommend that people hire an agent, hire a broker, hire a realtor, whichever you want, as part of our selling mix. But we use an awful lot of media, which you're going to see in just a minute. So the type of real estate that we're talking about is not traditional real estate. What it is, traditional, of course, is homes, it's small apartments, small farms, small office buildings, even residential buildable lots. That's traditional. Well, we have the same kind of real estate. The difference is these are tax defaulted property. All right, so these properties are sold at auction. Those auctions are authorized by the county commissioners and by the board of supervisors, and they're supervised by the state that the property is in. So tax defaulted property are seized by the local government, and then they're sold at public auctions.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get her going here. Start me off. Where to bid to go? Have it like $1,000. Open it up.
They're sold at a starting bid of real close to the back taxes. So I'm in the business of teaching people how to sell these properties. We buy them for pennies, then we resell them at a small profit. In other words, we try to buy them at 10 cents on the dollar, but we try to sell them at less than the tax assessed value. So we want to make money on that margin. That's where we make our money. So we resell quickly below the tax assessed value. So ask yourself, if you could buy property for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar, and then you could put a sign in the front of it, or you could use eBay, or Craigslist, a multiple listing service, and sell that property, and you can do that while you're sitting at home on your computer, I'm sure you'd want to learn how to do that. So we're trying to buy for 10 and 20 cents on the dollar, then resell for 50 or 60 cents on the dollar. So I'm sure you'd want to do many of those if you could find those. Well, they're happening at over 3,000 counties, over 5,000 auctions nationwide every year. So if that would work for you, I can tell you right now, the county needs the money to do that, and I'm sure you'd like to have those profits to share with your family. So today's episode is all about how hard is it to sell your own house. Well, we have to do it all the time, so if you follow along, you'll see that this will work for you too. So we sell properties all the time using strategies and media. All right, now what's our strategy? Our strategy number one is buy low, sell low. Number two, let's use a lot of media to let people know that it's for sale. Now, the broker community doesn't say, no, we won't help you. They let us use them MLS, but most brokers and agents aren't versed in tax defaulted property, so they're a little nervous. They just haven't been educated. So there's nothing wrong with the properties. It's just that that community doesn't educate themselves on how to sell these properties. So our students have to sell their own properties. So we make sure we spend a lot of time on the selling of properties. All right, now properties will sell with three things that are most important. Number one is the pricing, and the number two is the financing, and number three is going to be the location. Or you could reverse it and say location, pricing, and financing. All of those are going to be important, and I'll point those out to you as we go along. So if you could buy for 10 cents on the dollar and resell for 50 or 60 cents on the dollar, ask yourself, how many of those would you want to do? You'd want to do them pretty regular. So our students want to do the same thing. So if you can understand, we're going to use media. What's the media going to be? You want to make some notes as you go along or replay this video. All right, we want to use eBay. We want to use Craigslist. We want to use a multiple listing service. Okay, now we're doing all these all at the same time. We're going to use Zillow. We're going to use Trulia. We're going to do all this sitting at home on a computer. You can still use newspapers. You can go to real estate clubs because there's a lot of bargain hunters there. You can use every electronic source available to sell these properties. In other words, we're going to do all of the things that I've mentioned and many more I haven't had a chance to mention. You want to aggressively market the property. So conventional thinking is always telling you, oh boy, if I'm going to make big money in real estate, I'm going to need a lot of money. Well, let me prove to you in the next few minutes that you don't need a bundle of cash to make money with tax defaulted properties. Okay, so now what happened? Well, this is a married couple that you're looking at. They're from Wisconsin, and they wanted to buy tax defaulted property. They decided to buy in Michigan. All right, now they solved their income problem. Now they're senior citizens. What they're concerned about is the future. Are they going to have enough money, because we're in inflation times now, and they're concerned they're going to have enough money. So what we did is we taught them how to sell their first property. Now, as soon as they graduated the classes that we give them, they went right to work finding tax defaulted auctions, and they simultaneously started the selling process as soon as they purchased the property. And I'm going to show you how they did that. The property they purchased had a tax assessed value of $55,000. However, they bought it at auction, highest bid $8,000. So that means they only spent 20 cents on the dollar. Now, tax defaulted properties, the deed of trust or the mortgage has already been deleted and canceled from the property as part of the auction. So now they own a $55,000 property for only $8,000. Now, many of these real estate properties are sold at auction at 50, 60, and 70% less than the tax assessed value. Now, how does that happen? Well, it's because the treasurer sells the property. The treasurer is only interested in getting rid of the property and collecting the back taxes. They're not in the business of making a profit. They just want to get rid of it. So they get rid of this property for $8,000. They're going to buy low, and then they're going to use marketing and sell the property, and they're going to sell it for as much money as they can. Now, we teach people not to fix the property up, so they didn't fix it up. They cleaned it up, did a little touch-up. That cost them about $4,000. So let's do the math. $4,000 to clean it up and touch it up. Secondly, they had $8,000 invested, so now they're total all in at $12,000. So the couple advertised on Facebook Marketplace and all the things that I had already mentioned. I'll mention those again in a minute. All right, they advertised the property for sale. Next thing they know, they have an offer for $35,000. Now you remember the tax assessed value was $55,000. They had a purchase order for $35,000, and they had only spent $12,000. Well, it doesn't take too long to figure out that math. They had $12,000 invested, sold it for $35,000, and they're going to make a $23,000 profit. Not bad at all. First time they ever did a property. Now, what are they going to do with that property? They're just going to sell it outright? Well, the people that were buying it wanted an installment sale. Wow, what about that? So there's lots of ways to do installment sale. So they had already learned to use a contract of sale, which was an installment sale. Now, would this work for you? If you could buy a property for $12,000 and sell it for $35,000, of course it would. All right, now let's get the thing sold. This is what works best if you want a fast payday. You want to buy it low, sell it low, and if you can offer financing, if you're willing to do that, then offer that too. So the fact that you buy it low and sell it low is going to attract everything from fixers to renovators to flippers. They're all going to be attracted to you. Plus, you're using lots of media. All right, so I'm not forecasting this. I'm telling you it's a process. It's what's working best right now to generate high income. So you get paid high income that you deserve. So this system has been tested and proven, and it works today in the marketplace today. We use the same system, and we just do it again and again and again, and we buy at tax defaulted auction. There'll be over 5,000 of those auctions this year. We use a contract for sale, and why do we do that? Because there's many people that are turned down by banks, and they have poor FICO scores, and the only way they can buy a property is to have installment payments. So we recommend that people, if you have the ability to do that, to sell the property on an installment sale. I'll go through that in just a minute. The National Association of Realtors tells us that about 10% of the properties that are sold by FSBO, for sale by owners, actually sell. So that means a lot of them don't sell. So those people haven't learned how to sell the property. They have tried to sell it, but they end up using an agent anyway. I recommend that you learn how to use media. Once you use media and then you price it right, you're going to be able to sell it a lot quicker. Now, most sellers don't realize that there's a lot of paperwork to do in the sale. Now, you better get a title company to help you with that. You're going to have to get an attorney to help you with that, or you can get a broker to help you. But you're going to have to do everything in writing. Everything that you do when you sell a property, buying or selling, has to be done in writing. It's state law in every state in the United States. All right, now signs in front of the property are a great idea. Signs in the neighborhood are an even better idea. The solution is simple. You've got to do it again and again and again. You're not going to get it done just with a little sign. So underestimating the importance of marketing is the biggest mistake that I think entrepreneurs make. It's a simple blunder, but when they make it, they don't sell the property. And if you don't sell the property, where are you going to be? So what's the solution to all that? The solution is spend your money on media. Now, what do I mean by media? Of course, a sign out front is going to help. Why not use eBay? Why not use the multiple listings service? Why not use Zillow? Why not use Trulia? Use Craigslist. You're getting the idea. Use Facebook Marketplace. Every electronic site you can use. If you have media, you're going to create traffic. If you create traffic, you're going to be able to get this property sold. Okay, so newspaper advertising still works, and if you go to clubs, those clubs have lots of buyers there. So let's face it, to close up this video, we're in the tax lien and tax defaulted business. We buy used and abused properties. Actually, some of them are junk, don't buy junk, but there's many properties that just need to be cleaned up and resold. So this is a system. If you learn how to do this system, your life will be smooth sailing. If you don't, it's going to be a nightmare to try and sell real estate. You see those little white circles? That's how many auctions are taking place within that state in the next 90 days. This calendar updates every single day. I'm here today to show you how to make money. To do that, I'm going to show you briefly that there are thousands of tax defaulted real estate properties across the 3,000 plus counties in the United States. This is quite interesting. You're looking at the Ted Thomas Magic Interactive Map and Auction Calendar. It changes every day. Now, I created the calendar and the map so I would know how many auctions are taking place every day in the United States. Now I can show the little guy how to make money. Most importantly, I created this system so I could have an auction list for each auction 24/7. Small population counties, they're going to have dozens of properties that they're going to auction. In the large population county, you're going to find hundreds, maybe even thousands of tax defaulted properties. Now, if you're going to buy tax defaulted property, two big mistakes that people make. One, they don't have boots on the ground. If you don't have boots on the ground, there might have been a fire, there could have been a hurricane, there could have been a flood, it might be next to a pig farm. You need to look at the property. So boots on the ground is number one. Number two mistake you want to avoid is when you're there on the ground and looking at the property, figure out how you're going to sell it. How you're going to sell it, number one, and number two, what you're going to sell it for so that you don't bid too high. A lot of people bid too high, then they don't have an exit strategy and they're not going to get out. I'm Ted Thomas. I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.